Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Derrick Broze with the Conscious Resistance Network, and today is June 8th, 2020. I'm doing a new video right now called Controversial New Study Claims Coronavirus Created in a Lab. I don't know if you guys have seen this, just came on my radar, and apparently it's already disappearing off the internet, so I figured this is probably the time to cover it before it gets harder to find. And if you guys are new here, please go ahead and subscribe, like, follow. I want to ask you guys to bookmark theconsciousresistance.com, which is my website that I've been running since 2013 or so. You can see it right here. You can bookmark all of our content. You can download my books for free. You can check out our articles. You can check out my documentaries for free. You can see all of our various podcasts from our team here. This is a team effort, a network, not just my work. If you want to, you can follow us on Minds, especially if you're following right now on Facebook or YouTube. Follow us on Minds. Join Hive. Sign up on Discord to follow the community. Sign up for my text list, guys. This is most important. Also, check out Float. You see this little sailboat? That's Float, float.app. It's an awesome social media network. It's way better than the one you're using. You can get my videos at BitChute, and if you want to support, you can do so at patreon.com/Derrick Broze. All right, guys, so we're going to continue our look of on coronavirus, COVID-19. Obviously, there's a lot of other things going on, and it's amidst everything going on, it's important to still pay attention to this because, yes, as Milky Joe here says, what virus? Yeah, it seems like it may have slipped the minds of many people at the moment, but there is still, we are told, a virus out here, and it's important for us to see what these stories are about. Now, let's go ahead and let me see if I can pull up one thing for you real quick. Guys, please excuse me for just a second. I was sent this article by a friend, and I'm trying to see if I can show you. The original title of the article is called Norway Scientist Claims Report Proves Coronavirus Was Lab Made. This is from Forbes.com. Forbes.com. I'm going to show you guys some screenshots here real quick of the original article because, as you're going to see in just a second, the article's gone. I got sent it by a friend, and before I could even look at it, the whole damn thing was gone. So check this out real quick. You should be able to see this. This is a screenshot of the mobile version of the Forbes magazine. As I said, Norway scientist. Right here you can see Norwegian scientist Birger Sorensen has claimed the novel coronavirus SARS-CoV-2 is not natural in origin. These claims by the co-author of the British-Norwegian study published in the Quarterly Review of Biophysics. You can go on. There's another link to it. So this is more of it. Let me see. Oops, sorry. I'm trying to see if I can. Yeah. And so that's basically where we're at with that whole story is what it's claimed. But now let's look at what actually is there when we go to Forbes.com and see what the article actually looks like. And when I show it to you, it's gone. This page is no longer active. Editor's note, we regret any inconvenience. But if you look in the background, it's kind of hard to see. Controversial coronavirus lab origin claims dismissed by experts. So first they said the original title was Norway Scientist Claims Report Proves Coronavirus Was Lab Made. Maybe that made it out there for about 5 minutes before the controllers decided, hey, we can't have that title. So some editor stepped in and called it Controversial Coronavirus Lab Origin Claims Dismissed by Expert. And then it's really hard to read down here at the bottom, but it says June 8th, this article has been substantially updated to reflect criticism of the published study along with the general scientific consensus. Again, there's that general scientific consensus, but it's gone. So we can't even read it. They won't even let you read it. But I did find this. Here's a press release from G-Wire. Norway Scientist Claims Report Proves Coronavirus Was Lab Made. And we can see the first three paragraphs of the original article. Norwegian scientist Birger Sorensen has claimed the novel coronavirus SARS-CoV-2 was not natural in origin. It was published in the Quarterly Review of Biophysics and supported by the former head of the British MI6, which is a spy agency, Sir Richard Dearlove. The study from Sorensen and British professor Angus Dalgleish show that the coronavirus's spike protein contains sequences that appear to be artificially inserted. They also highlight the lack of mutation since its discovery, which suggests it was already fully adapted to humans. The study goes on to explain the rationale for the development of BioVac-19, a candidate vaccine for COVID-19 that is now in advanced preclinical development. Of course, now when we click that, it takes us back over here to this other thing, which is no longer available. But thankfully, I did find some other media outlets did report on the study, and I did find the original study. So we're going to look at the original study. We're not going to trust Forbes.com to show us what's going on. I'm just going to show you guys my full window. So let's go into this. Forbes takes it down. G-Wire has the first couple paragraphs. Then we go over here. This is bgr.com. I found another reference to it. Former MI6 director says coronavirus is a, quote, accident from a Chinese lab. The cliff notes say researchers have penned 2 new studies that say novel coronavirus was created in a lab in Wuhan, China, which is what myself and other people have been saying for quite some time. Other people have been claiming it doesn't even exist. I don't agree. The claim that the virus received key components there made it more dangerous. The researchers say that although the virus was man-made in the lab, it was released accidentally. A former MI6 director agrees with the findings of these controversial studies, which have been met with plenty of resistance from the scientific community. See, this is what I'm saying. Forbes could have just done this. They could have left it up, but made it clear that, hey, some of these normies think it's fake. Only one of the 2 studies has been published after undergoing significant edits to remove explicit accusations against China. The other thing we have to consider is that maybe these studies are, British and U.S. kind of information war to point the finger at the Chinese government. Although we do know that Bill Gates funded the NIH that Fauci was involved in, that NIH and the NIH gave millions of dollars to the Wuhan Virology Institute to study coronaviruses involving bats in caves about 1,000 miles away from Wuhan, where we were told that the virus first appeared. So there's lots of connections here that we need to keep in mind. And I've covered this previously. If you guys are just tuning in and never heard me talk about coronavirus, I recommend going to our website, theconsciousresistance.com, searching coronavirus or just looking up our past reports, because I haven't touched on this in a little while, but it's still important to understand that. So let's get into the scientific consensus is that SARS-CoV-2 wasn't bioengineered, and top U.S. officials agree with that take. Well, I guess we should just dismiss it. But they say wild conspiracy theories still say COVID-19 is a man-made disease, even though plenty of credentialed people are pointing at the same thing. Other people, way back in January, February, when this whole thing began, some of you might remember there was an Indian study that talked about the similarities between HIV and COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2, and they already were making claims that it could have been bioengineered. Of course, those were quickly dismissed, and that study was taken down too. Some say because it was less than credible. Others say, well, because they didn't want people to be thinking that that could be a possibility. Either way, every time somebody mentions this, it seems like the media takes it down really quickly. But the former boss of the MI6, Sir Richard Dearlove, who led the MI6 between 1994 and 2004, told the Telegraph that the coronavirus started as an accident. He said he had seen an, quote, important scientific report that says the virus did not develop naturally, but instead was created by man. I do not think that this started as an accident. It raises the issue if China ever were to admit responsibility, does it pay reparations? I think it will make every country in the world rethink how it treats its relationship with China and how the international community behaves towards Chinese leadership. The paper in question comes from Norwegian-British research team, which we're going to show you in just a second, that claims that it found clues in the novel coronavirus's genetic sequence that suggest key elements were, quote, inserted and may not have evolved naturally. These elements are sections placed on the SARS-CoV-2 spike surface, which is what we talked about before, that help the virus connect to a human cell, a key event in the life of the virus that allows it to take over a cell's huge chemical plant and turn into a replication tool. So they're basically saying that on the spike, the protein, which is a very important part of it, is the sign that it might have been engineered in some way, and that this could make it replicate easier or spread easier or maybe affect a certain kinds of people. We don't really know, because if they keep dismissing the possibility that it could be engineered, we're never going to get to the truth of what it was engineered to do. In the published paper, the researchers theorized that the virus binds to ACE2 and other receptors, and a vaccine should attempt to block these links. Now, it's kind of interesting, right? Because the study, despite calling it an engineered virus, is also saying, well, hey, this supports the use of this particular vaccine. So in one way, it could be an attempt to push a certain vaccine. But if that was the goal, I would think that this would be all over CNN.com right now. And instead, nobody's talking about it in the mainstream. They won't even touch it because, and if they do touch it, it's just to say, oh, that's been dismissed. The former MI6 spy says the paper is peer-reviewed and it's the same paper produced by Norwegian virologist Birger Sorensen. The paper makes another mind-bending claim, according to them, that could change everything. It says that the effort to produce a vaccine are destined for failure as the true etiology of the virus has been misunderstood. And they say, quote, to remedy the problem, the researchers are developing their own vaccine produced by Immuner AS, a Norwegian pharmaceutical company led by Mr. Sorensen. So that's kind of a little bit shady too, right? The guy who's involved in the study says that, hey, because they don't understand what the virus is, they're going to produce a vaccine that won't work. But guess what, guys? I work for a company that's producing the right vaccine. I mean, that's kind of convenient. And I'm sure that is going to put doubt in some people's minds. So conveniently, this is the first red flag that we'll point out. The fact that a company would claim its vaccine candidate is miraculously the only one that will work, like I just said. We'll remind you that there are 10 drugs in advanced human testing, which is crazy. That's all part of, in the US at least, Operation Warp Speed, Donald Trump appointing a former GlaxoSmithKline executive to head up as his vaccine czar for Operation Warp Speed. Some of you guys still don't get it, that he is part of Big Pharma. He's part of the swamp. Now, there are other people, though, that have talked about the engineered potential. John Frederick Moxnes, the chief scientific advisor to the Norwegian military, previously, though, he asked for his name to be withdrawn from the research. Maybe he doesn't want to be associated with it. Scientists from the Francis Crick Institute and Imperial College of London also dismissed the findings, and they called this, BGR says those are the third and fourth red flags. The Telegraph points out that the paper was rejected in April from publication in Nature, and the Journal of Virology, who deemed the research, quote, unsuitable for publication, the fifth and sixth flags. Now, I would say those aren't necessarily, to me, red flags that this is false. I'm also not saying that this study is 100% conclusive. But when you start to understand the various influences, like I've been exposing Bill Gates lately, the various influences and money that go into organizations like Nature, then you start to understand that they're not all completely as independent as people would like to believe. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody who puts a paper in Nature is, bought off or controlled or it's some sort of conspiracy. But my point is that I don't think it's that difficult to get some organization or institution like that, to get the heads of them to release a statement saying we condemn this study or we reject it for X, Y, and Z. And whether that's real or not, lots of people are going to see. But look, Nature rejected it. Francis Crick Institute rejected it. Imperial College of London, which also happens to be funded by Bill Gates, rejected it. And they'll just dismiss it out of hand. The paper was then, quote, watered down to remove explicit accusations against China. The rewritten study was subsequently accepted for publication in Quarterly Review of Biophysics Discovery. That's a journal chaired by leading scientists from Stanford and the University of Dundee. And so they have the abstract here. But then there's also a second study. So there's another study here. It says, the Telegraph says the new study, titled A Reconstructed Historical Etiology of the SARS-CoV-2 Spike, it claims the virus is, quote, remarkably well adapted to virus for human coexistence and is likely the result of a Wuhan experiment to produce, quote, chimeric viruses of high potency. The researchers seem quite convinced by their conclusions and challenge others to prove them wrong. Henceforth, those who would maintain that COVID-19 pandemic arose from zoonotic transfer need to explain precisely why this more parsimonious account is wrong before asserting that their evidence is persuasive, most especially when, as we also show, there are puzzling errors in their use of evidence. This second study, though, hasn't been accepted for publication, and they say that's the seventh flag. I don't think that's necessarily a red flag that it's not true. If you're coming to a conclusion as researchers that goes against the consensus, there might be some pushback. There's obviously some pushback. There's people who wouldn't want that information to come out, especially if you're correct. And again, I'm not saying that for certain, but I don't think it being rejected is, automatically a dismissal. This is fake news, etc. So let's go here to Cambridge. Here's the study, QRB Discovery. It's coming from Cambridge Core. This is the journal QRB Discovery. BioVac 19. And again, the study is basically talking about how they believe that their vaccine is the prime candidate to treat COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2. And they say it's because they're the only ones who are actually examining it from the perspective that it is a engineered virus. So it's kind of coincidental that they say, well, we happen to have the right vaccine to fix it, but they're not the only ones who have made claims and put forth evidence about SARS-CoV-2 being engineered. And I could pull up, I don't have the links right in front of me, but I've covered this previously. And Francis Doyle, I want to say, as well as others who are experts in this field, have come forward and again talked about not only the similarities between HIV and SARS-CoV-2, but just the spike proteins and some of the things that don't add up. And a lot of it, I will say, is not my expertise. But yeah, this is the study. I will link to this in just a moment. That's the abstract. And I think there's another link right there. And I have a link to the actual downloaded study that I will share with those who are interested. So that's part one of this video that we're doing here, this update on coronavirus. I'm going to shut up for a minute and read the comments and see what you guys think. And then I want to get into a second study that came out of the mainstream that claims that the lockdowns saved millions and millions of lives. And without the lockdowns, we wouldn't be where we are now. Oh, look at this. These are always nice. Chrissy Shunda, love you, Derek. Just sent you some money on Float. Hey, awesome. I love Float. That's why Float's cool. You can send funds through it just like it's Patreon, but through your social media. All right, so let me go back, scroll up here a little bit. What do you guys think? Start answering now. Let's take a poll. Let's get some thumbs up. Do you think that this study or these studies are accurate? Or even if you don't trust these studies, thumbs up if you think SARS-CoV-2 is engineered, whether that's Chinese, the Americans, what have you. Do you believe that based on the evidence that we have got in the recent months that it's engineered in some way? Let's get some thumbs up for that. And if you don't believe so, then you can do some angry faces. Yeah, angry faces if you think we're crazy conspiracy theorists and you totally believe that this was a bat virus, wet market, the whole mainstream story. Thumbs up if you think it's engineered. Angry face if you think that this is that the mainstream story is right. And I'm not asking you guys to think like I know, to think like me, or to be blind followers or anything. I just want to get a feel for this. As you guys hopefully can see, I'm not trying to make a strong claim one or the other. I have since the very beginning leaned towards the engineered virus theory. And then all these people started saying, no, that there's no such thing as viruses, and oh wait, it's this. I mean, there's just all kinds of different things. And I got Regala girl, it's not legit. I just checked. Can you explain more why you think it's not legit? Like I just went over a moment ago, the mainstream's claiming it's not legit, but do you have any specific reason? Mike says, I practiced hand washing and social distancing before the virus. People already had some nasty bugs and diseases before this. Sure, but don't be afraid to be around other human beings. I haven't practiced social distancing at all, and I've been hugging people, and I've been sharing joints with them, and I've been eating high-dose vitamin C every day to take care of myself. For those of you who don't understand the power of vitamin C, go back and see my interview with Dr. Richard Chang, where he talks about the power of intravenous vitamin C. And coincidentally, that interview is the only one recently that Facebook and YouTube have both removed. It's like they don't want you to know about vitamin C. If it exists, it may be engineered. There's not definitive proof that viruses are what we're told or they exist. Yeah, I'm still on the fence about that, but I think that if it is a thing, it's definitely, from a lab of some sort, because we know for sure. I mean, come on, guys. You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to see that the U.S. government was funding through the NIH, which is where Anthony Fauci who's now one of the leading fighters against the coronavirus, and had funds from Bill Gates. They were funding coronavirus studies specifically on bats. I mean, I don't know how obvious it can come up, but anyways, all right, guys. I'm going to cover one more story, and this is again more of a mainstream story. And we're gonna see if what you guys think about this one. Let's go back where we were. Again, this is Derrick Broze of the Conscious Resistance Network. My name is Derrick Broze. You can follow me at DBrozeLiveFree on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, you can follow me on Float, on Minds, on Facebook, and on YouTube. I put out videos and articles every week. So according to CNN and to a new study, shutdowns through early April prevented about 60 million U.S. coronavirus infections. I haven't had time to really dig into this myself, but again, the study comes from scientific journal Nature, and there is great research on how Nature is a corrupted journal or can be used as a form of propaganda. But I haven't had time to really dig into that, so take it at face value if you want, or do the digging. I would plan to do the digging myself. But 6 countries, according to this study, fared better due to shutdown policies. They're saying 285 million more infections would have been in China, 38 million more infections in South Korea, 49 million in Italy, 54 million in Iran, 55 million in France, and 60 million more infections in the US if the United States and these countries had not put in shutdown policies. Now, the estimates suggest, as I say, that without certain policies in place from the beginning in January through April, there would be more infections, and I guess that means there would be more deaths. But it says that the study involved a modeling technique typically used for estimating economic growth to measure the effect of shutdown policy. So they used an economic model to measure potential infection rates. I don't understand how that works. I need to look into the study and see, but that sounds weird to me, to use a model that's meant to study economic growth to try to study the rate of infection. I'm not sure how they correlate and how they're connected, but we'll have to find that. It says the study period ended on April 6th, but keeping shutdown orders in place after that time has likely led to even more coronavirus infections being avoided, even though maintaining such measures has been difficult, says the study's lead author, Solomon Hsing, a professor and director of the Global Policy Laboratory at the University of California at Berkeley. And he said this in a press release, quote, "The last several months have been extraordinarily difficult, but through our individual sacrifices, people everywhere have each contributed to one of humanity's greatest collective achievements." Do you see how they sell it? By our individual sacrifices. Sacrifice your individuality, sacrifice your individual freedoms for the larger collective. And I'm sorry, guys, I'm not a collectivist. I think collectivism leads to very dangerous places, and that we have to respect individuality and individual liberty as we're trying to create a better world. So I looked into who's Solomon Hsing at the Global Policy Laboratory at Berkeley. This is who he is. You can see his background. He's got a personal page. You can see some of the research he's done. And just out of curiosity, I searched his name and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And he doesn't work for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And I didn't see any direct funding from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to his global policy lab or to any of the schools he's involved in. But I did use the CIA Google search engine to search his name and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And I mean, it just so happens to be that there was just going back as far as 2013, there's events that Bill and Melinda Gates are either hosting or involved in, and he's also involved in speaking at it. Now, that means maybe they came across each other, they knew each other. This event, for example, the San Francisco something in 2017 experience, I don't even know what it is, the WCSJ 2017 organizing community, says that there were scientific presentations by several people, including in defense of science by Susan Desmond Hellman of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, so not Bill or Melinda themselves, and then followed by a talk from UC Berkeley's Solomon Hsing exploring the interaction between economic inequality, violence, and climate change. So my point is that at the very least, this guy had interactions with individuals from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Here's another one, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Representative Oliver Babson, and let me see, he's on here somewhere. Solomon Hsing, University of California. So, I mean, guest speakers, do you know what I'm saying? Like there's a connection there. It's not direct funding, and I'm not saying that means that the study is completely false. I do doubt it based on everything else I know. But we need to do the research, because just so you're aware, this is what your mainstream normie friends are going to be posting today, because it just came out today on CNN about a couple hours ago. Shutdowns through early April prevented about 60 million coronavirus deaths. And if you want to look more into that, I recommend trying to see, can we debunk it? Is there truth to it? Is there, and it could be true. Maybe the fact, let's just imagine that they're telling the truth. Lockdowns, shutdowns did indeed save lives. Does that mean we should just lay down and let the police state roll over us and let them tell us when we can go outside, and curfews and lockdowns and contact tracing and immunity passports? Hell no. That does not mean that at all. So I don't, even if this study turns out to be 100% factual, to me, at least for my mind, that doesn't justify then turning around and locking everybody down for extended periods of time and taking away people's liberties, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what I think we need to be able to understand. And we need to understand is, I'm not going to get sucked into the comments. There's, guys, it's been rough out here trying to be a critical thinker and a truther and an investigative journalist who doesn't get sucked into the left-right paradigm that so many of you are falling into. So many of you are falling into it again. It's like you either gotta, it's just like with the virus, it's the same thing. Either the virus is totally fake and anybody who believes it's an idiot, or, oh my God, it's completely real, we're all gonna die, and anybody who doesn't believe it is a moron. And then move forward to the next storyline, George Floyd's death. Oh my God, we have to, attack all the people and loot and riot and this and that. And, anybody who doesn't agree with us is the enemy. And then, oh my God, I'm just going to sit on the sidelines and complain. Why are those people looting? Why are those people rioting? Oh yeah, I support the tear gas. I support the lockdowns and the curfews. Now that it's not being used against me, divide and conquer, divide and conquer. And most of you are falling right for it. One way or the other, you're falling right for it. And it's sad to say that I thought I had more critical thinkers in my audience, and you can be offended if you like. I know some of you are right here with me, and I'm not saying you believe like I believe, but the fact is that so many of you are falling for this trap. And, the thing is, you can I said this recently. You can be against racism. You can be against racism in police departments. You can be against police violence. You can be against looting and destruction of random buildings and hurting random people. And you can also realize that there are a predator class at the top that's trying to manipulate all of us and create order out of chaos. You don't have to choose one side or the other. It's like some of you see somebody looting, so then you're like, oh, well, I can't support those protesters, even if the looting and rioting is this much percentage, and the vast majority of the day's events or the protests that you're not hearing about on the mainstream are peaceful. I know I'm getting off on a rant here, but goddamn, so many of you are so lost. It's very sad, and it's making me very, very depressed. Honestly, I'll just be real with you. I am depressed. I don't see a very positive way forward. I don't think we're going to be able to do this, but I have some ideas that I will be talking about starting next week. Hashtag Truth Street Teams. Hashtag Truth Street Teams. Getting out there, trying to wake people up and spread the real research and realize that left and right don't care about black people. Left and right don't care about white people. Left and right don't care about Asian people. Left and right don't care about Native people. Left and right want police militarization. Left and right don't care about your individual liberty. It's them against us. And yes, it is called nuanced thinking. And Vendetta Jones, as you realize, I'm sure lots of people are not capable of it. I mean, that's the sad thing, is that in the conspiracy truth community, so many people believe anything that they see, anything that they read. I mean, I don't know. It's sad. And I thought I was developed. I mean, I kind of fault myself for it. Like, holy crap, what kind of content am I creating if I'm drawing in a bunch of people who can't think for themselves? But anyways, I'm going to shut up for now. This was all about COVID. I didn't mean to get off on a rant. So check out that study, guys. I will put the links in the description below. I'm going to post this to theconsciousresistance.com once I wrap up here. I have a list of videos. Let me see what's coming up on my to-do list that I made for you guys. 1 second. Okay, so we did. Okay, this one's totally random. What I also have coming up later today is talking about some hypocrisy among healthcare workers. So I guess we're talking about COVID today. We're going to talk about what is the Great Reset that some of you might have been hearing about. Also, I've got a video that's going to be well edited and short, so you can share with your friends what anarchy isn't, because we're seeing so many stupid people, including Donald Trump and others, saying we have anarchy in the streets, and they don't know what the hell they're talking about. And I'm also going to be putting out a video. Is there a George Floyd and George Soros connection? Since so many of you think you know what's up, but you don't provide evidence. I'm digging in. I'm finding the evidence, and we'll pull apart fact from fiction, and we'll see what's really happening. Until then, though, guys, I want to remind you one more time, visit theconsciousresistance.com. That is my website. That is the home for all of my content. If you ever want to support me, you can go to Float and do so. You can sign up at patreon.com for some monthly support. You can just follow my work and share it. Share it more than anything. We are being censored in the age of coronavirus, in the age of George Floyd. Many of you know I got arrested last week trying to cover the protest. If you can help out and help me be able to do this more full time than I'm already doing it, then that's even better. But either way, I will continue to bring you the truth, to pull apart the facts from lies, and to question everything. So until next time, my friends, remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free. Peace.